Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD physician. I'm not an endocrinologist. I'll try to make this topic as simple as possible. So we are going to talk today regarding Addison's disease, meaning adrenal gland secretes less hormone and that produces adrenal insufficiency, and that is given a name Addison's disease. As usual, we'll be talking under the heading definition, etiology, pathophysiology, clinical features, investigation, treatment, and complications. What is Addison's disease? Addison's disease is the adrenocortical insufficiency. It does not include medulla. So it is an adrenocortical insufficiency due to destruction or a dysfunction of entire adrenal cortex, meaning it will involve all the three layers, glomerulosa, fasciculata, reticularis. So there will be deficiency of both glucocorticoid as well as mineralocorticoid, and even sometime androgen hormones. The onset of disease usually occurs when 90% or more of adrenal cortex is dysfunctional or destroyed. So symptom starts as the destruction starts, and it becomes full blown when destruction is more than 90%. It is also called as Addison's disease, adrenal insufficiency, adrenocortical hypofunction, or also the word utilized was hypocortisolism. But as there is also mineralocorticoid deficiency, the word commonly utilized is Addison's disease, or we call adrenal insufficiency. So adrenal insufficiency we divide into three classical groups: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Usually we call primary and central. So when there is a primary decrease in production of adrenocortical hormone because of damage to adrenal cortex, it is called primary. Secondary means damage to pituitary gland, where ACTH production is reduced, and that will have less effect on adrenal cortex. So you will have a low level of ACTH. And in tertiary, hypothalamus damage, there will be impaired release of CRH, we call corticotropin releasing hormone, and that will have less effect on pituitary gland, decreasing ACTH production, and finally adrenal cortex production, and this is called tertiary. In primary, all the three types of adrenal hormones are being affected, and when 90% of gland is destroyed, then you start getting manifestation clinically. There is one disorder which is there in a adrenal gland, we call it adrenoleukodystrophy, which is a sex-linked inherited disorder, and it is because of a fatty acid metabolism disorder, and there is a progressive neurological symptoms from demyelination. Along with, you get adrenocortical insufficiency. There is another word we call as a relative or functional adrenal insufficiency, meaning in a critically ill patient, they require more glucocorticoids. Usually in a normal person, any type of a stress, there is increased production of a glucocorticoid. If this production is not met with, and there is a subnormal production, the person will develop relative adrenal insufficiency, and this is called as a functional or relative adrenal insufficiency. And this person requires, for a temporary purpose, hydrocortisone. So basically we divide into one group, primary, secondary, and tertiary, and second we call it the acute adrenal crisis or chronic adrenal insufficiency, or we call as Addison's disease. And one more word what we don't commonly utilize, we call relative or functional adrenal insufficiency. So these are the different terms which are being utilized. So etiology we usually divide into primary and secondary. Secondary means pituitary induced because of abnormal pituitary gland, or because of abnormal hypothalamic, or there is a congenital deficiency of ACTH hormone. Sorry. This is called secondary group. While in a primary group, some of the common pathophysiology and etiology we can call. It is because of infectious adrenal involvement by tuberculosis, or there is a bilateral adrenal infarct and hemorrhage, very commonly in a person we call as a Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, which is very common in sepsis and in children in meningococcal infection. We call meningococcemia, or we use the word Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, or it can be after bilateral adrenalectomy, particularly not very common in a bilateral adrenal gland tumor. You remove the adrenal gland and person goes into adrenal crisis, or by drugs which blocks the secretion of adrenal gland and person can go into acute adrenal crisis, or it can be destruction of adrenal gland by autoimmune group of disorders, or maybe infiltration of adrenal gland by metastasis, sarcoidosis, hemochromatosis, etc. So these are some of the common etiology which we put, and we divide into primary and secondary. Primary means basic adrenal gland involvement, secondary means pituitary, and tertiary means hypothalamic. Usually now they call secondary means maybe pituitary, maybe hypothalamic, maybe congenital deficiency. So primary acute adrenal insufficiency is usually because of stress crisis. Very frequently you come across because of a rapid withdrawal of steroid. The person who is on glucocorticoids on a large doses for autoimmune group of disorders, and suddenly you stop glucocorticoid, person can go into acute adrenal crisis. Or there is a massive adrenal hemorrhage. We have given already an example, Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. By and large, the person will come to you with a chronic adrenal insufficiency. We call it Addison's disease, which is very commonly because of autoimmune involvement of adrenal gland. We call autoimmune adrenalitis, which can be type 1, type 2, or maybe because of infections, very commonly because of tuberculosis, or there is an infiltration by secondary metastasis, or there is a congenital adrenal insufficiency because of congenital hypoplasia. Secondary is because of pituitary or hypothalamus, where in hypothalamus CRH production is reduced and in pituitary ACTH production is reduced. Pituitary induced we call secondary, hypothalamic we call tertiary. Now that word is gone. Secondary includes pituitary or hypothalamus. We usually call pituitary induced adrenocortical insufficiency or hypothalamic induced adrenocortical insufficiency, or there is an exogenous steroid which is being given which produces secondary adrenocortical insufficiency, and there is a normal aldosterone synthesis and there is no production of glucocorticoids from adrenal gland. So primary most common is chronic adrenal insufficiency, or we call it a chronic adrenocortical insufficiency, we call it Addison's disease. The most common being autoimmune, second common congenital adrenal hyperplasia, adrenoleukodystrophy, infection like tuberculosis, HIV, cytomegalovirus, cryptococcosis, adrenal hemorrhage particularly in acute sepsis, drug induced maybe secondary due to ketoconazole or radioactive substance or mitoten etc., or following a surgery, adrenalectomy. This is drug induced. While secondary is because of mainly because of pituitary tumors or pituitary gland is destroyed, say like Sheehan syndrome or Simon's disease, we call it a pituitary apoplexy, or maybe because of chronic glucocorticoid excess which suppresses pituitary gland, and suddenly if you withdraw it will produce acute adrenal crisis, or there is a defective production of corticotropic releasing hormone from hypothalamus. So all this condition can result into what we call as a secondary groups. So these are all primary. We have already discussed autoimmune, Addison's disease type 1, type 2, which is associated with hypoparathyroidism, inborn errors like congenital adrenal hyperplasia or ACTH resistance syndrome, vascular intraadrenal hemorrhage, or maybe because of infections or following an anticoagulant therapy, or infiltration by neoplasm, secondary metastasis, leukemia, lymphomas, sarcoidosis, etc. And we have already told you exogenous causes, involvement of adrenal gland by infections, tuberculosis, HIV, cytomegalovirus, drugs which blocks the steroid synthesis like ketoconazole, mitoten, or glucocorticoid receptor blockers, or there is bilateral adrenectomy or irradiations. So you divide into primary groups. One another group they add is idiopathic, where you cannot identify the exact etiology. So the commonest cause of primary is autoimmune, second common adrenectomy or destruction because of tumors or because of infections. And among tumor, one of the most common congenital adrenal gland hyperplasia. Or it can be destroyed because of chronic thyroiditis along with autoimmune disorders. This is autoimmune destruction, chronic thyroiditis, Graves' disease, or it can be associated with a hypoparathyroidism, hypopituitarism, myasthenia gravis, or type 1 diabetes mellitus, etc. Secondary also we have mentioned almost all the causes. One of the very common postpartum necrosis, Sheehan syndromes, adenoma hemorrhage, or because of hypothalamic pituitary axis failure, decreased production of ACTH and pituitary neoplasm becomes the primer causes, main important causes. So usually chronic adrenocortical insufficiency we call as a Addison's disease, which we divide into primary and secondary. We already discussed all these causes. While acute most common cause is sepsis, very commonly in Neisseria meningitidis in children. In adult, Pseudomonas, pneumococcal, H influenza, etc. can produce that, or secondary due to DIC, and that is given a name Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. Or sudden withdrawal of a long-term corticosteroid which is given in a large dose. Very commonly it is because of a suppression of a hypothalamic pituitary axis, and when you suddenly withdraw, the adrenal gland has already undergone atrophic changes and it cannot produce glucocorticoids as well as mineralocorticoids. Or because of a stress underlying chronic adrenal insufficiency, person can also undergo acute adrenal crisis because of limited physiological reserve. Very commonly it is because of anticoagulation, DIC, sepsis, etc. So do remember these causes for adrenal crisis, sudden withdrawal of a drug. As we undergo pathophysiology, you know very well, hypothalamus produces CRH, which will stimulate pituitary gland to produce ACTH, and that will stimulate adrenal cortex to produce cortisol, mineralocorticoids, and androgens. And this particular will be affected by different factors. Say CRH stimulation is mainly by stress, hypoglycemia, cold exposure, pain, etc. Now if there is anything which destroys the hypothalamus, this CRH production will reduce, no production of ACTH, and ACTH cannot stimulate now adrenal cortex to produce cortisol and mineralocorticoid. Same way, if pituitary gland is damaged, so in a pituitary gland destruction, you cannot have an ACTH production. CRH production will continue. So CRH level will be high, ACTH level will be low, and cortisol level will be low. But in hypothalamic, CRH will be low, ACTH will be low, cortisol and mineralocorticoid level will be low. While in primary disorders of adrenal cortex, cortisol level will be low, ACTH and CRH level will be normal or maybe high. This will be typical picture what you will come across in laboratory parameters. Cortisol, high level of cortisol will inhibit hypothalamus and adrenal cortex, but low level because of primary destruction of adrenal cortex. Cortisol level is low, so there will be increased production of CRH, no negative feedback on anterior pituitary, and you will have an increased production. Except there is a primary disorder of hypothalamus or primary disorder of pituitary gland, which we, for adrenal cortex, we call as secondary, or we call this as a tertiary. Now, tertiary word is usually not utilized. They call secondary or hypothalamic pituitary axis failure. So that is commonly term which is being utilized. So even excess of ACTH will inhibit CRH. So in a pituitary gland disorder, if ACTH production is more, CRH will be inhibited. But in low level of ACTH, CRH level will continue and you will have a high CRH, low ACTH, low cortisol. So in a deficiency of aldosterone separately, you will have increased potassium in body, myocardium toxicity you will get, cardiac arrhythmia, and person can die suddenly. And because of decreased sodium, decreased extracellular fluid volume, hypotension, and circulatory shock. So both this condition can end into a death. Both this condition can end into a death. So adrenogenital syndromes, we call this particular condition where there is deficiency of glucocorticoid because of 21 hydroxylase enzyme deficiency, and also it can be because of adrenocortical carcinoma, more common in carcinoma than adenoma, and you will have a decreased production of mineralocorticoid as well as glucocorticoid because there is a defect in 21 hydroxylase enzyme, and so this production will be reduced, and this production, conversion of progesterone into glucocorticoid and into mineralocorticoid, will be affected. But you can have a continuation of conversion into anabolic steroids, sex hormones, that will continue, and that is called adrenogenital syndrome. Now, first description was by Thomas Edison in 1855, and he described these symptoms as Addison's disease behind his name. So there was muscular weakness, hypoglycemia, hypotension, anemia, hypovolemia, hemoconcentration. There is a decreased resistance to stress and infection is less. Disturbed electrolyte balance because of lack of glucocorticoid and mineralocorticoid. There is hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, and metabolic acidosis rather than alkalosis. And person will suffer from anorexia, nausea, vomiting, etc. And if there is an acute, you can call that as the Addisonian crisis word was utilized. Nowadays, we commonly term as adrenal insufficiency or chronic adrenal insufficiency we call as Addison's disease. The most common symptoms are weakness and pigmentation and weight loss. So these three are considered as a trial: weakness, weight loss, and pigmentation. Good number of times they complain of anorexia, nausea, vomiting. Hypertension is common in 87% of the people, and pigmentation we already mentioned of skin and mucous membrane. In skin it is in almost 98%, while in mucous membrane in 82%. But all these other symptoms are minimum. Salt craving, diarrhea, constipation, syncope, vitiligo, or abdominal pain. See the percentage, very less percentage. So the most common symptom, weakness, pigmentation of skin and weight loss comes topmost on the list. So we call weakness most common, 100%, pigmentation almost in 90%, and hypotension, which will be almost again close to 90%. You can see here, hypotension 87, so it is close to 90%. So these three are called triad. So again I am repeating, weakness, loss of weight, we call emaciation, 100%, almost in all. Pigmentation of skin and mucous membrane, very common. See here, you can see the pigmentation of lips, gums, even buccal, inner mucosa, and hypotension. So these three becomes the common triad, and whenever you get this, you should suspect chronic adrenal insufficiency. You can see this mucosa of oral cavity pigmentation. This is of skin. This is gum pigmentation. You can see this pigmentation. So that is very classical. Now you can divide into three hormones deficiency. Because of glucocorticoid, hypoglycemia, increased insulin sensitivity, muscular weakness because of hypoglycemia, and also because of hyperkalemia also. Person will have a hyperkalemia, and there is the increased production of melanin, and that melanin will start producing because of ACTH excess production. The melanin production will increase, and that will produce pigmentation. And pigmentation is very common in palmar creases, gingival borders, axilla, etc. Because of mineralocorticoid deficiency, hypotension, and secondary to hypotension, dizziness, salt craving, because there is hyponatremia, weight loss, anorexia, and electrolyte imbalance, particularly hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, and metabolic acidosis. So these two are very common. Very rarely you come across even androgen hormone deficiency when there is a massive destruction of an adrenal gland, and that will produce decreased axillary hair in female, decreased pubic hair in female, loss of libido in female, and asymptomatic if prepubescent may be asymptomatic. Good number of times these symptoms are present, which suggests adrenal gland adrenogen deficiency. Particularly it will be seen more common in female rather than males. So these are those what we have already mentioned: glucocorticoid deficiency, weight loss, malaise, weakness, nausea, vomiting, shock stage, hypotension also can happen along with glucocorticoid, hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, there may be even hypercalcemia, very common. Why? Because of mineralocorticoid, hypotension, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, and metabolic acidosis, and person can have a shock stage. We have already mentioned because of excess of ACTH, pigmentation of skin and mucous membrane. So that will be very peculiar because of excess of ACTH. And adrenocortical deficiency more common in female, especially in female. Loss of body hair and loss of libido, very common. So lack of energy, libido loss, and axillary and pubic hair loss, quite common. These are all the general symptoms and signs what we have mentioned before. This is pictorial way, and these are all those things what we have mentioned because of together mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoid deficiency. This is again, you can have even alopecia. This is, you can see the difference, little extra pigmentation. And in adrenal crisis, you will have a low serum, high potassium, severe hypotension, shock stage, dehydration, and profound fatigue. That will be very typical in adrenal crisis. This is typical picture of a Addison's disease, very commonly because of destruction by tuberculosis or because of autoimmune destruction or hemosiderosis, etc., which will produce hypotension, hyperkalemia, hyponatremia. Three classical triad we call, that is weight loss, fatigue, weakness, hypotension and pigmentation. So those three will be the most common. And this particular pigmentation is very peculiar. You can see this pigmentation. You can see pigmentation here. You can see pigmentation of the lips. Typical pigmentation, or you can get even what we call as a vitiligo, maybe seen. See pigmentation of skin. This is of mucous membrane. This is gum pigmentation. This is pigmentation of skin. This is pigmentation of mucosa. This is nail pigmentation, skin pigmentation. And this will be pigmentation of what we call as the lips and gums. This is palmar crease pigmentation. Again, you can see the pigmentation of gums, mucosa, skin. You can see little pigmentation here also. This was the famous person we call Kennedy. So you will come across hypotension, pigmentation and loss of weight, emaciation. And this is a triad, classical triad. So you can get pigmentation of skin and mucosa and even palmar pigmentation, skin pigmentation, quite common. There's a minor difference between chronic and acute. In chronic, you get that classical picture what we have described. Anorexia, weakness, nausea, weight loss, hyperpigmentation, hypotension, along with hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, hypoglycemia, 3 hypo, 1 hyper, and metabolic acidosis. While in acute adrenal crisis, you come across nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, hypoglycemia, electrolyte imbalance, and there will be associated destruction of an acute destruction of an adrenal gland or sudden withdrawal of glucocorticoids in a person who is under a treatment for chronic period, chronic disease, large doses. So usually it is very common with head trauma, pituitary hemorrhage, we particularly call Sheehan syndromes, this postpartum hemorrhage, Sheehan syndromes or Simon's disease. This is Simon's disease, hemorrhage in pituitary adenoma, or maybe because of life-threatening emergencies, the person will develop life-threatening emergencies like severe hypotension and person can collapse, severe shock stage, and associated with hypotension and shock, person will have a hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, metabolic acidosis, hypoglycemia, may have hypercalcemia, very frequently vomiting, diarrhea, and unexplained fever and weight loss. Even person might have a severe abdominal pain. So most common cause, sudden withdrawal of glucocorticoids after adrenalectomy or Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome because of acute hemorrhage in sepsis, particularly meningococcal sepsis, very commonly seen in children. And treatment will be, you will have to give both mineralocorticoid as well as glucocorticoids. So we have already told you, if it is ACTH decreased production, it is secondary, and if CRH production decrease, it is tertiary. Now both are commonly utilized as secondary only, or you call as a hypothalamic pituitary axis failure. And that is characterized by hyperpigmentation is usually not present because ACTH level is low. And when ACTH level is low, MSH action is not there, so you don't come across pigmentation. And even hypotension is less severe. So that is one characteristic of what we call as a secondary insufficiency, secondary adrenal insufficiency, which is because of decreased ACTH production or because of decreased CRH production. So there is less amount of ACTH activity. Usually you don't come across that. Now, pure hypoaldosteronism is rare, absolutely rare, not very common. So, by and large, hypoaldosteronism can be produced because of renin defects, production by kidney. and this will not produce what we call as a adrenal insufficiency. So pure hypoaldosteronism is not very common. So primary aldosterone deficiency is very commonly by primary aldosterone deficiency because of adrenal cortex synthesis is not very common, but it will be always secondary due to very commonly due to because of decreased production of renin. But there can be one condition where there is a enzyme defect in aldosterone biosynthesis, and that can lead to what we call as a primary aldosterone deficiency because of adrenal cortex, and then it will produce typical mineralocorticoid deficiency, that is hyperkalemia, hyponatremia, and metabolic acidosis, which will be hypochloremic variety, and you will have a mild volume depletion, postural hypotension, etc. So this is very common with hypoaldosteronism, destruction of adrenal gland. It is usually combined with glucocorticoid. Isolated mineralocorticoid deficiency can be because of genetic defect in enzyme synthesis. You might have slight because of unilateral adrenectomy, maybe along with diabetes mellitus, heparin therapy, or maybe congenital like what we have already mentioned, enzyme deficiency. These are all the syndromes which you can come across. We call hypoaldosteronism, and that is very commonly in hyperrenin hypoaldosteronism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, pseudo-hypoaldosteronism, or hyporenin hypoaldosteronism. All these are odd variety, but once in a while you do see these particular groups. And we have already shown you that because of deficiency of mineralocorticoid, increased potassium concentration because sodium is lost, potassium is retained, and that hyperkalemia can produce myocardial damage, myocardial involvement, cardiac arrhythmia, dangerous cardiac arrhythmias. You can have a tall T wave, widening of QRS complex, widening of PR interval, absence of P wave, then you get sine wave and person can have a cardiac death. And because of loss of sodium, sodium and chloride is lost. Decrease extracellular fluid volume because water is lost along with that, hypovolemia, hypotension, and you can get circulatory shock. And because of sodium loss, hyponatremia, because of potassium retention, hyperkalemia, because of chloride loss and H ion retention, hypochloremic acidosis, but it is a metabolic acidosis, and this is dangerous one, person can have a death. So hypotension due to hypovolemia, metabolic acidosis because of H ion retention, and it will be hypochloremic variety. You got a potassium retention, so you will have a hyperkalemia, loss of sodium, hyponatremia, etc. Investigation, which we usually divide theoretical way, suspect, do a screening, and once you in a screening you pick up, you go for investigation and try to find out the exact etiology. So we call confirmed adrenal insufficiency by low cortisol level with low mineralocorticoid level, and then you try to determine whether the cortisol deficiency is because of primary or central. Very easy. If cortisol level is low, ACTH level is low, CRH level is low, hypothalamic. CRH level normal or high, ACTH level low, cortisol level low, pituitary induced. Pituitary induced. CRH level high, ACTH level normal or high, and low cortisol level, primary. Primary. So pituitary and hypothalamus are called central adrenocortical insufficiency, and then go for further investigation to rule out underlying disorders. So this is called three-step method. So in a lab, first always try to rule out hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia. So you'll do blood sugar, electrolytes, and WBC count. There will be increased WBC count. We call leukocytosis. Increased plasma ACTH level will be very common in a primary variety, and decreased cortisol level in a primary variety. So hyperkalemia, hyponatremia, hypoglycemia, slight elevation of urea level, acidosis, particularly hypochloremic acidosis, hypercalcemia, eosinophilia, neutropenia, lymphocytosis, and person might have anemia. This is a typical picture what you come across in a primary variety. Clinical suspicion by we have got a triad what we call as a weight loss, fatigue, hypotension, and hyperpigmentation, along with hyponatremia and hyperkalemia. And then you do a cortisol level. If cortisol level is low, ACTH level is high, it goes in favor of primary. If ACTH level is low, cortisol level is also low, it goes in favor of pituitary induced. If CRH low, cortisol low, and even ACTH low, hypothalamic induced. And along with that, get CBC, sodium, potassium, creatinine, urea, even thyroid test, etc. should be done. For differential diagnosis, we have already told you ACTH level, plasma renin. If plasma renin is markedly low, it suggests kidney disorders producing secondary hypoaldosteronism, and also do the level of aldosterone to find out associated low level of aldosterone in adrenal insufficiency. And this is that flow chart what I already mentioned, that in a secondary adrenal insufficiency you would like to find out whether it is pituitary or hypothalamus. For that you will go for a MRI of skull and try to identify whether it is a pituitary induced or hypothalamic induced. So that will help you out, and ACTH and CRH level will also help. While if you want to find out the primary etiology of adrenal glands, then you will have to go for a disorders where you will do an autoantibody studies, and if autoantibody is positive, it will be going for autoimmune adrenalitis, or it is also called as autoimmune polyglandular syndromes. Short form it is called AP1 APS. So you can have that particular variety, and if it is negative, go for chest X-ray, so ectopic productions, and also go for adrenal CT, and adrenal CT will give you an idea regarding the destruction of adrenal glands, what is the cause, and you try to identify what is the cause of adrenal gland destruction. So same thing shown here, you can go at your leisure time. This is a similar thing. What will be the clinical picture, what will be the clinical picture, and what way you investigate. So try to approach in whichever way you want. This is a difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary. I have already given you an example. In a primary, it will be a low level of glucocorticoid and ACTH level will be high, while in secondary, ACTH level will be low and cortisol level will be also low. In tertiary, what we say that ACTH level will be low. Sorry, in tertiary plasma ACTH level normal? No. Cortisol level normal? No. That cannot happen. In a tertiary variety, all three will be low. All three will be decreased. Cannot be normal. It will be all three will be decreased. ACTH will be low, CRH will be low, and cortisol level will be also low. Only in case of primary, ACTH level will be high. ACTH level will be high in a primary variety. So try to identify by that doing ACTH level. You can go for ACTH stimulation test, overnight METIP-REPON test, or plasma cortisol level, plasma ACTH level, CRH stimulation test if you want to identify pituitary induced, hypothalamic induced. This is another flow chart. At your leisure time you can go through. These are what we have already mentioned. You try to estimate the cortisol level, ACTH level, and you can go for a ACTH stimulation test or synactance test. Long ACTH stimulation test also can be performed, which is given daily for 3 days. These are all the different tests: CBC, blood glucose, we already mentioned, electrolytes, then short ACTH stimulation, long ACTH stimulation, etc. And whenever you want to find out the secondary causes, you can go for X-ray chest, plain X-ray abdomen, adrenal gland antibody, autoantibody to find out the etiology of destruction of the adrenal glands, ultrasounds, CT scan of adrenal gland, HIV test, etc. You can go for all those. So ultrasounds to find out the cause of adrenal gland damage, etc. This is high dose ACTH stimulation. This is synactane test. This is differential diagnosis. This is one variety which is also having a pigmentation of a oral mucosa. This is called Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. This is another variety where you can get a pigmentation of the skin, little pigmentation of the skin, and that you can get, and you can have a multiple small this neurofibroma. It is called von Recklinghausen disease. You can have Albright syndrome where you get a vitiligo, which is also seen in adrenal insufficiency. Once you confirm the diagnosis of adrenal insufficiency, reduce anxiety, elevate the blood pressure, vasopressor like dopamine or epinephrine, and avoid additional stress because that will further worsen out. Usually you will require maintenance therapy by replacing glucocorticoid and mineralocorticoid together. So replacement of glucocorticoid and mineralocorticoid should be done depending upon the severity, and it should be given in a divided doses. Supportive treatment for the basic etiology, and person should have a good nutritious diet, regular meal. It should have a high carbohydrate, sufficient sodium, and it should be associated with hydrocortisone and fludrocortisone replacement. In case of an acute crisis, injection should be advised. It should be given in an injectable form. So in an acute crisis, IV saline to reduce hyponatremia and elevate the blood pressure. You should also give fludrocortisone along with glucocorticoids, and also if required vasopressor drugs should be utilized. You correct hypoglycemia by giving glucose. You correct hyponatremia by giving saline along with fludrocortisone, and you correct hyperkalemia if not corrected, and try to find out the cause of acute crisis and treat the basic cause. In case of pituitary induced acute crisis, you might require to replace other hormones also. You might require even TSH. So these are all the things which you do. IV fluids, glucocorticoids, monitor the patient, maintain the blood pressure. Hydrocortisone should be followed along with dextrose and normal saline. Vasopressor amines should be utilized if hypotension is not corrected. If person is having infection, antibiotics, etc. should be utilized. So this is to prevent crisis, avoid cold exposure, overexertion, stress, infection, etc. So that should be prime treatment. And vasopressor should be utilized if a person has got persistent hypotension. This is glucocorticoid replacement. This is mineralocorticoid replacement. This is during stress. You avoid stress, and depending upon the stress, you give treatment accordingly. And post-surgical, always replaced by glucocorticoid. So glucocorticoid replacement should be done post-surgical, and even sometimes they require mineralocorticoid when it is bilateral adrenalectomy. So this is what is done in a minor. degree of post-surgical, moderate, major variety, hydrocortisone is given, and in major variety, hydrocortisone with mineral corticoid should be given. These are all the glucocorticoid preparations which are available, and potency wise. So, best is hydrocortisone, which should be given IV in acute crisis. As far as complication is concerned, adrenal crisis is the most dangerous complication, which can be associated with severe hypotension and shock stage. Hypoglycemia is another dangerous complication. Hypercalcemia is not usually so dangerous one, but hyperkalemia can be dangerous, and that should be corrected as early as possible because it can give rise to severe dangerous cardiac arrhythmia and person can die. And then comes what we call as a hypernatremia is not a common complication in case of an adrenal crisis. It is usually hyponatremia. Sorry, this should be hyponatremia. Sorry, this is hyponatremia. And these are the complications because of excess treatment of glucocorticoid, and you can have also abnormal symptoms and signs because of excess of mineralocorticoid replacement. So I end my lecture here on Addison's disease and Addison's crisis. I hope this lecture will be helpful to you, and once in a while you can come across this particular group of people